Go, 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 go.
3, 2, 1, 4 tires.
Still there, inside.
What a jump! What a jump!
The track is wet. It's good.
Still there, clear.
3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Four and Fuel Podcast post Michigan edition. I'm your host, Dom Capilupo, joined as always by Steve Ray, Wes Riddle, and Sam Dooley. A big episode here celebrating a Denny Hamlin win. We all love it. A win for Denny Hamlin is a win for America.
Not true. That's
You'll
false.
get crickets on that one.
Yeah. No one likes that guy. Fuck that guy.
I was fine with it until he brought back the slogan that he should have carried on the entire time. If he had kept doing it or just dropped it, I think I would have been fine. But then he said it, and I was like,
Can he say it less cringe?
too much
Like,
for
can
Wes.
he be a little less cringe? Like, Dom, you got it, man. Come on. It was cringe. The way he said it, right? The way he has to incorporate it into everything. It's like, what are we doing? Like, it's the first time, I'll say the first time he said, "I beat your favorite driver." That was a badass line. I liked it. Now, what, the fifth time or whatever that he said it, it's boring and now it's cringe. It's like he's trying to rekindle that same thing that he did the first time with all the boos and everything, and it's like you're getting booed anyways now. Like, everyone knows that you're trying to be a heel. You're pushing it a little too far.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. That was his third time saying it. It had been since the Clash last year since he said it. So he's gone, 4 wins in between without saying it. He just fed into the moment. I mean, it's better than any Chase Elliott interview we've ever gotten. So
You don't get those anymore. You don't get interviews in 15th place.
We
don't need to rip the Band-Aid right away here.
Steve's sad.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's some Alan Gustafson talk here at some
Man.
point, but
Leave that man in Mexico. Don't let him back into the United States.
Someone take his passport away, hide it in the hotel room somewhere.
no, but for real, huge win for Denny Hamlin to finally close a race out that he had a fast car all day. He just didn't have the lap sled like a William Byron. But he kind of put William Byron to school, got by him, didn't even need William Byron to run out of gas to win the race. So I think that's a little more to show the power of the 11 team is to fight back from a bad last pit stop, got some damage, and to be able to fight through the field and really kind of charge from, I think, around 12th to the win is pretty impressive for this car and Michigan.
Yeah, it's amazing when you look at Denny Hamlin's 701 starts, and he has not dropped a beat at all. Hasn't hit that cliff. He's approaching his mid-40s, and you start to anticipate, okay, when is that time going to come where you start to see so many of these drivers tail off? And Denny, year after year after year, just continues to be one of the top drivers and is always going to be a threat for the playoffs until we get to the championship race. Maybe this year might be different for him. Hard to say, but continues to just put on a clinic every single year, winning multiple races every single year. It doesn't seem to matter who the crew chief is or, all the generations of cars that we've been through now. He just continues to be one of the top performers every week, it seems like. And it was a great performance again by him on Sunday.
Yeah, I was really impressed with his performance. I feel like one thing that you can never take away from Denny Hamlin is just how consistent he is. Even when he has a couple of mistakes in a day, right? He is able to capitalize, I feel like, a lot better than a lot of other drivers in the field. And we saw that obviously on Sunday. I didn't think he had the best car. I thought, honestly, Chris Buescher did. Buescher just circumstances just never really put him up in the lead like William Byron most of the race. But I think overall, like Hamlin, he always is in the top 5, like no matter where you go. I feel like you're always seeing him top 5, top 10, and that's just a sign of a really good driver. And he's always been elite. He's going to stay elite, I feel like, until he retires, whenever that might be. be curious to see what would happen if he does win a championship, like what his plans would be for the next season, like if he'd make that his last or if he'd want to go out on top. You never know. I guess it's unpredictable for him. He's got a lot in his personal life he's trying to juggle, and of course, running a team. There's a lot of responsibility that Denny Hamlin has, but it just really makes him a really important figure, and also just shows how good of a driver he is.
Yeah, I'd say like with Denny Hamlin, this was just another typical type of Denny Hamlin win. The biggest thing with Denny Hamlin that makes him so good is just his race craft. Like he gets in there and he executes whatever strategy they end up on, he will execute that strategy. Like if Denny Hamlin loses, it's not because of the driver 90% of the time. And that's something you can't really say about most drivers. He doesn't make mistakes. If his car is supposed to finish, like to me, it looked like that was a third place car. I was with Wes. I thought that Busher and Byron were both faster, just raw speed wise. But he played the right strategy and he didn't make mistakes. And when you've got that kind of ability, you've got that kind of driver that doesn't make mistakes, you're going to end up winning races like this, where it comes down to tight strategy stuff. He's able in the car to kind of settle down, get out of the moment. Hey, let me wait for my lap. All right, I'm good. I'm good. And then start pushing and start putting pressure on the 24 and get him to run out of gas and even pass him before he even gets out of gas, right? So just Denny Hamlin's racecraft, and you could say it's a savvy veteran type racecraft that he has, but he's had this basically his entire career. He's never had like he didn't start out like a lot of guys where they just overrun the car a lot. It feels like Denny Hamlin his entire career, his big thing has been his racecraft. So just a big win from the 11, and it was all just because I mean the strategy was played right as well, but it was all just because he was able to execute it right there in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and you look at it, Steve, we've ragged on Chris Gale for a long
Yeah.
time, and I don't know, like, is it more impressive that Denny Hamlin's got 3 wins already in 14 races with Chris Gale in the box? Or has Chris Gale just been a good crew chief, but just dealt like those rookie drivers, and that's why the results haven't been showing?
No, Denny Hamlin is carrying Chris Gale. We've proven this. Chris Gale single-handedly ruined Eric Jones's Joe Gibbs career. So no, Denny Hamlin is the one that is carrying Chris Gale to it. Um, because how many crew chiefs has Denny Hamlin gone through? There was Mike Ford, there's Mike Wheeler, there was Darian Grubb. I mean, we can just start listing off all these guys, and it's the one constant with it. Denny Hamlin's going to find a way to victory lane, whether that's we've seen him dominate the races, we've seen him be in the top five, and then come out winning the race. So it just doesn't. Nothing really seems to matter. Of you give Denny Hamlin a situation, he's going to take what most drivers might take that third place car and finish third, but Denny Hamlin is always going to find a way to take that third place and elevate it to the next level, and that's how he's been able to capitalize for 57 wins now. Is just taking that extra step. We're going to reach a point where Denny Hamlin is going to retire one day, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He could retire right now, and he's a lock for the Hall of Fame championship or not. Just his accolades and everything that he's done and continuing to do for 23XI now is just going to solidify his career as you could make a case for Denny Hamlin could end up as one of the top 5 drivers in NASCAR history. I truly believe that to be the case. So we'll see. He doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. He doesn't seem to mention retiring anytime soon. He still feels like he's got years left in the tank. So who knows? It'll be fun to see how long this is going to keep going. As somebody who's not a Denny Hamlin fan on the track, that pains me to say because I want him to stop winning all these races, but you have to appreciate greatness when you see it. And Denny Hamlin is just one of those guys.
I mean, Denny Hamlin, you look at it, he is he's at 57 wins. And what I think is most impressive about the last 3-4 years now is his adjustment to the next gen car. He hasn't slowed down with the next gen car. You look at guys like Kevin Harvick. He stopped winning with the next gen car. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. You look at these guys that were so good in the Gen 6 era, then you brought the next gen car in and they just can't seem to figure it out. Denny Hamlin has adapted to the car. He's adapted to multiple cars from Gen 4 to Gen 5, the COT, the Gen 6, now to the next gen, and he is still winning multiple races and is a perennial championship contender year in, year out. Now, I don't want to hear it. If Denny Hamlin doesn't win a championship, he will go down as the greatest driver to never win a championship. I don't want to hear this Mark Martin stuff. Mark Martin raced for 50 million years and has 40 wins. Denny's been racing for 20 and has 57 wins, and he'll probably end up being in the top 10 in all-time wins by the time he retires.
I'd only make a case for Harry Gant. Harry, I think, is the greatest driver in NASCAR history, ahead of everybody. End of story.
Hey, that is now a Hall of Famer, Harry Gant, on top
Hall
of
of
that.
Famer Harry Gant.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. All right, sorry. Just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Denny Hamlin's not having a championship is kind of a victim of the times type of thing, because you had the Johnson run of dominance that prevented him from winning any in the beginning of his career. And then even now, it just seems like he's got the playoff system, which is heavily working against him. I feel like if we even had like a chase format, that Denny Hamlin would have a championship by now. But he's just kind of been a victim of the times in that way, where it's like his consistency and his consistent ability to finish up front and be there when it matters, isn't really paid off to him. So my brain says Denny Hamlin, my heart still says Carl Edwards. Because cousin Carl, man, I love him, but my brain and all the statistics and everything, it says Denny Hamlin is the best without a championship.
All right. I think Denny Hamlin's definitely gotten his flowers on this episode, which usually doesn't happen from anyone except for me and sometimes Wes. So we'll move on. I think we kind of talked about it at the beginning, and no reason to keep the Chase Elliott fans waiting. Steve, Chase Elliott, we finally saw a flash of Chase Elliott making a move to the lead and started pulling away. And then what happened?
Yeah, just I got caught up on the wrong end of the strategy. It seemed like they tried to make a call, and I think a caution fell around that time, and it just didn't work out for him. So the result of 15th place might not necessarily tell the whole story. But I'm going to go back to the same thing we've talked about for weeks. Like, these 15th place finishes, like, yeah, it's cool. He's the only guy this year that hasn't finished outside the top 20. That's a cool statistic if we're back in the Winston Cup days. That's going to help you win a championship if we're back in the Winston Cup days. But in 2025 NASCAR, with 0 stage wins and 0 race wins, first of all, like, he's the highest driver in the playoff standings without a win. He's like 150 some points above the cut line. So as long as we don't get a huge string of new winners in the next 11, 12 weeks, then he should be fine to make it into the playoffs. But then where he's going to struggle is that when you get to the playoff time, you need those playoff points to help get you through the rounds. Like, if you're not winning in the first round, like, it's going to be so hard to just point your way through it, because you have Larson that's sitting at a gazillion playoff points. Hamlin's going to be right there too. And those guys are going to have I don't want to say a breeze through the first round, because we've seen things happen before. But you need these stage wins, you need these race wins to just help alleviate so much pressure. So it's cool. Like, it's cool that there's been no DNFs, no finishing outside the top 20, but this is modern day NASCAR, and you need that to help be considered a true championship threat, and they're not considered that right now. And I don't know what to do to fix it, because we've talked about, I've seen a lot of things of that Alan Gustafson needs to go, and I could see part of the side of that, but part of it too is just like, aside from the first year of the next gen, like Chase has one win since 2023, and it's, part of it's on the crew chief, but part of it's on the driver too, and that it just seems like either one really isn't grasping this next gen as well as some other guys like Denny Hamlin are doing. So I don't know what to do to fix it. I'm glad I don't make those decisions, but it's just hard to watch as a fan. That's all I'll say to that.
Yeah, and another guy that's kind of in that same boat this year, that I was high on coming into the season is Tyler Reddick. They're sitting right back to back in points. They're fifth and sixth.
Yeah.
They've led about the same amount of laps, less than 100 laps at this point. They both have no playoff points. Um, and I think Tyler Reddick has shown flashes a little more than Chase Elliott, but at the same time, he hasn't gotten those finishes. It's been about the same as Chase. They're both sitting with three top fives and seven top tens for Chase and five for Reddick. So like they're both their seasons are looking really similar. And those are two guys that coming into the season, I know Chase Elliott struggled the last couple years, so we kind of didn't have him in that upper echelon. But I personally had Tyler Reddick as taking that step after last year, how good of a season he had, taking another step this year, and it looks like he's taken a little bit of a step back, winning wise, because it just feels like he doesn't have the speed, even though he's shown a couple of weeks where he's been up there, but it just feels like whether it's driver or team, he's kind of in that same area where it's like, yeah, good job, you got a bunch of points, but this is 2025. We need wins, we need playoff points, and those two are kind of sitting in that same boat. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, you look at Chase, and I think I've said this on the show before. In 2022, when he got the 5 wins, look at 3 of his wins. 2 are at super speedways, and 1 was because the top 2 finishers got disqualified at Pocono. So it's not like Chase Elliott went out there and dominated 5 races and was lighting the world on fire like that. And then come the championship race, he cuts in front of Ross Chastain, gets himself spun out, and really just was out of the championship hunt after that. And it's really been downhill since then. I think it's a driver thing. I mean, Allen probably isn't helping with that strategy call. You get the lead and then stay out while the rest of the field pits behind you. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just kind of like both sides are kind of hurting each other. If I was a Chase Elliott fan, I wouldn't mind a breakup. I think you're at the point where you got to try something different, because just running back the same combo week in and week out and expecting different results is insanity.
I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago too. The couple of distractions that Chase Elliott also has. One was the injury a couple years ago. You never know long term like how much that does impact somebody. He would know himself. He might have never come publicly and said it, but there could be something mentally or still physically that's bothering him that could restrain him from doing what he could be capable of in the car, right? And then the second thing is, like I mentioned it, he's a pilot. He's got a lot of distractions that don't involve racing. I say distractions, they're what he enjoys to do, like personal hobbies. You don't know also about his personal life, like well, how he lives day to day when he's not in a race car or not flying planes. So for him, obviously those two things could play a factor. Only he would know that. But of course, the crew chief thing has been a big conversation topic that's come up, especially this year. I feel like we heard it last year too. And then obviously Chase is a consistent driver. He's a solid driver, former champion, but the next gen car just has not really suited him like the prior gen did. And the prior gen, you could say that he was developing into probably the best driver in the field. and now we can't say that anymore. So we'll just have to see how the rest of the season goes. A crew chief swap might be the best thing for him at this point, but we'd only know if that happens. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and I want to keep the conversation in the Hendrick camp. Listen, Alex Bowman is on one of the worst stretches I think I've ever seen in my life. He took one of the most vicious hits in recent memory in the race on Sunday. And first and foremost, like thankful that Alex Bowman got out of that car, was able to give an interview, and it looks like he should be in good shape moving forward. Probably definitely some soreness, and hopefully there's no concussion issues because he does have experience with that, especially with this next gen car. But listen, people are saying that Bowman did nothing wrong, which in that wreck he didn't. But listen, Alex Bowman before that run was almost 2 seconds a lap off the pace. Alex Bowman wouldn't be getting wrecked by the guys in the back like Cole Custer and Daniel Suarez if he wasn't in 32nd place. So to say that Bowman just got bit by bad luck, listen, you create your own bad luck when you're running 32nd. What? Bowman finished 36th instead of 29th? I mean, that's where I'm a little off from the popular opinion.
Yeah, everything for Alex Bowman was looking so good after Homestead. I think he was sitting like third in points, and now he's 13th in points, 13 points above the cut line. And I think over like the last 9 races, I think there's been a flash of like fifth at Kansas and maybe like another top 10 somewhere else. But other than that, it's been like 33rd, 36th, 32nd, just one after another after another. And some things haven't been of his own doing, but some things have been. That is, like you said, Dom, one of the worst stretches that we've seen in recent memory that I can think of. Just what do you do? What do you do? That's another one of those situations, just like we talked about with Chase Elliott. Is it the driver? Is it the crew chief? Is it both? Like, do the 9 and 48 need to swap crew chiefs and see what that happens? But I don't really think that would help either. Um, Alex has shown that he's capable of producing these better finishes, but just like everything else, you get into the snowball effect, and until you go out and you can just put together, just put together like a 8th place day, right? Do that for 2-3 weeks in a row, and then we'll stop talking about it. But just you get into these 36th, 33rd, 31st type runs, and it just seems like nothing's going to go right. And then on top of that, now you're hurting your qualifying order, and qualifying is everything. Pit selection's everything. So it's just that domino effect that's going to keep hurting, and kick you while you're down. And both of those guys really need something to change. Alex especially needs something to change, and very quickly, or else they could go realistically from third in points to out of the playoffs on their own doing. And that's a very realistic thing to think about.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats right now on the 48 team, and since Homestead he got second. That's what you were talking about. Since then, a seventh at Talladega, it's a plate track. That takes a certain amount of luck. He got a fifth at Kansas, right? Other than that, highest finish is 27th since Homestead, right?
Yikes.
Like that's bad. 27th, 35th, 37th, 35th. All-Star race was a top five. Congratulations. Whatever. 29th at Charlotte, 36, back-to-back 36 place finishes. Like that is not cutting it. In a Hendrick car, that is not going to cut it for you. And like Dom said, we were all glad to see him get out of that car and him be okay. But it's his own doing. He's in the back. And you should not be in the back. Even if you're the fourth Hendrick car, like if you're the slowest Hendrick car, you should at least be fringe top 15, right? Because those cars just have that type of speed, right? So there's something going on there. Don't know what it is, right? But I mean, you can't have a stretch like this where your highest, and that covers all of the different types of tracks too. Like we're looking at short tracks, we're looking at mile and a halves, we're looking at mile tracks, right? And pretty much everything that we run. Congratulations on your seventh at Talladega and your fifth at Kansas. But other than that, the only reason he's even in the playoffs is because he had a pretty good start, which even that, he had a 26th at Atlanta, and the rest were all top, 10 finishes, right? So like it's interesting. It's an interesting case study because I don't know what the hell happened after Homestead, but the wheels have come off of the 48 car.
Yeah, I don't know how you can look at Hendrick and like the 5 and 24 are just sitting right up here. And then you have the 9 and 48 that are sitting so far down here. And like, where is that disconnect between the teams right there? How you can have two teams that are running top 5, top 10 every single week. And then you have these guys that run, 15th and then 30th every other week. So where is that disconnect right there? And that's what I'm confused about.
The only thing I'll add real quick just with Bowman was very similar to Chase Elliott. I feel like I thought Bowman was a lot more consistent in the last gen. He was a little bit more competitive than he has been in the next gen car. Obviously, he won a couple races in 2011 or 2021. I feel like that were circumstantial, like the one incident with Denny Hamlin at Martinsville, Kyle Larson's blown tire at Pocono. But right, he's in the position to win. We haven't been able to talk about him hardly at all in the next gen being in position to win. Obviously, he's got a couple here and there, but they were more, they played into his favor a little bit. And then of course he was injured twice, right? 2022 concussion, 2023 back injury. So how much does that play a factor, right? It's just hard to tell. Very similar to Chase Elliott, just hard to tell.
Yeah, and then if you look at Carson Hocevar, do you think there's a legitimate like any chance that Carson Hocevar could possibly take Alex Bowman's ride down the road sometime down the road?
I think so. I mean, he had a chance to win the last three races. He could be a three-time winner if things played out a little bit differently the past 3 weeks. He could have won three in a row just like Christopher Bell did, right?
Hmm.
And obviously, it's all hypothetical, right? If things played out differently, just just the butterfly effect. However, it could have played out right. But the fact he had race winning speed the past 3 weeks with Spire Motorsports equipment, outrunning Justin Haley, Michael McDowell on a weekly basis. I mean that's pretty big. I feel like he's definitely the most kind of, I wouldn't say underrated, a guy that people aren't looking at to take a big ride, if that makes sense, right? We talk about Corey Heim moving into like 2311 if things play out for him, or Legacy. We talk about some of those guys in the lower series, right? Like Connor Zilic, but what we haven't really talked about in our own bubble in the Cup Series. And I feel like he is that guy that could be able to move up if a Hendrick looks at him and is noticing what he's capable of and decides, you know what, we're going to give this guy a shot. I think right now, if you put him in the 48, it'd be hard to tell if he'd run better just because of how good he's running in the 77. I know he's a lot lower in points, but that 77 has shown more race winning speed than the 48 has. So is that more driver, more car? Who knows?
Yeah, looking at that, like the Carson Hocevar conversation is really interesting because if he stays at Chevy, like I'm sure Chevy really wants him to stay at a Chevy, right? That's really the only place that would be upward trajectory for him from Spire, the way that Spire's looked this year at least, in that 77 car, because you go anywhere else and you're kind of risking getting in a worse car. Um, Obviously you get in a Hendrick car and you're in a Hendrick car, like it's got speed. But like if you're looking at Chevy, it's there or like the 99's a foregone conclusion to turn into Zilich's car. Um, SVG, I think it's too early for them to boot him out of that seat. The other Hendrick drivers, absent of Chase Elliott, because of his name, the other two are uh, really are performing like they should in a Hendrick car. Um, Ross Chastain just got a win, right? So like if you're looking at Chevy and you're looking at places he could go up, that 48 car is the one that honestly, performance-wise right now, looks like it makes the most sense. You can look at other manufacturers that try and poach him away, and that's entirely possible too. But the one that's looking like it makes the most sense right now is him going to that 48 at some point if he's today's Chevy.
And listen, Hendrick isn't afraid to use that alliance with Spire to take the good teams from Spire and apply them to Hendrick. They took Justin Haley's crew and put it for the 5 team just because they can. So what's stopping them from just being like, yeah, you know what? We'll take Hocevar too. We'll just take him, and you guys could have Bowman. Like, what's stopping them from doing that? Because
Honestly, I think, crazy as this sounds, I think if you were to swap Hocevar and Bowman, and you were to put Bowman in the 77 and you put Hocevar in the 48, I think that would be a good fit for both guys. Like, I don't think that there would be, I don't see a downside to that option for either guy. I think Hocevar would be a good fit for the 48, and I think Bowman would be a good fit for the 77 right now. I wouldn't put it past him.
and Wes, you said Carson's like really far behind Bowman in points. He's not. He's only 31
Not
points
as
behind
far.
him.
Okay, that's not as bad as I thought. For some reason, I thought Bowman the first half of the season like scored a lot more playoff points, but obviously with how good Hocevar's done the past few weeks, right? Uh, things are things are looking up for him. I feel like there's a lot more up for Hocevar right now in the 77 than Bowman in the 48. And then obviously we don't know if there's going to be some kind of announcement if he saw further doctors this week that are going to not clear him, right? Because in the medical center there at the tracks, it's pretty much it's a lot quicker of a procedure, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, there's a chance he might not be racing this week, and by the time that we're recording this, maybe the podcast is already out. He we might see somebody else in the 48. Who knows?
And even if Bowman runs, another week of Bowman finishing 36 and Hocevar competing for a win, he'll be ahead of him in points.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But not surprising. I mean, I think just Hocevar is that talented, and it's impressive for a guy that does as little seat time as somebody like Hocevar because he doesn't really do a lot aside from my race. It sounded like he
Hmm.
doesn't do a whole lot of like actual seat prep and like preparation for races. So the fact he can just get in the car and drive and like contend for the Coke 600 win, like it's incredible. Obviously, he's got stuff he needs to clean up, and we're going to see that the more he contends up front. You know how he races clean in front of competitors. Dom and I had a chance to see one of Hocevar's early little mishaps there at Las Vegas together in
Yeah.
21. Little, yeah, just go
Intentional
back.
spinning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, hopefully, when he gets put in those situations, being up front more, he's not going to act. But we'll just wait and see.
All right. So I want to ask each of you, does Carson Hocevar win before the playoffs?
I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say he wins twice before the playoffs. I think he goes into the playoffs with 2 wins. I could see him, he's going to be a threat at, let's say, Atlanta, because he was in the spring. Daytona is always a wild card, and then, he's not a terrible road course racer. I think some things got to go his way. Some misfortune has to happen to some other guys, but you have places, you have places like Iowa in there. I think he could go and contend there. So I think realistically, I think he could go in with 2 wins into the playoffs.
I'm
Yeah,
I'll let you go first, Sam.
yeah. I was just gonna say I would be bold and say something like that, Steve, because he's shown the flashes. I'm just looking at the upcoming schedule, and there's a lot of road courses, and that's not particularly his strength that we've seen him in. But you've got places that he could do it. Like you said, we got Atlanta coming up. Um, we got what? We got Dover. He could definitely get it done. These like mile and a half tracks. It seems to be where he's had found his most speed. Got Iowa. I'd circle him on an Iowa race for sure. Um, and then of course you've got your Daytonas and Atlantas, and you've got your short tracks. But there's like what, three or four road courses before we get to the playoffs. Um, which that could throw a wrench into a lot of things um, coming towards the playoffs. But yeah, I think that I could see him pulling one out. Two would two would be interesting just because of the lineup of tracks that we have going forward. But I could definitely see him pulling out a win for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Just looking real quick, the two that I had circled were Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis Reservoir is going to be a rocket ship. And of course, that's Michael McDowell's hometown, so they come prepped, right? They're looking to win that race. And then the other, not looking at the super speedways like Atlanta or Daytona, was Richmond. Hocevar runs really good at Richmond. He won there in the Truck Series. I think that he could go out there and put a show and beat some of the guys that run up front, like the Denny Hamlins at Richmond.
Yeah, and the only reason that I said that he's going to win twice is that you look at it that he's currently sitting 18th in the playoff standings. He's 18 points below the cutoff line. In the speed that he's shown the last 3 weeks at Charlotte, Nashville, and Michigan, like this dude is probably the most aggressive driver that we have in the field right now, and he is itching for that first win. And when you get that taste of like almost winning, I feel like that drives so many guys. And you take an already aggressive driver and you put him in these situations where he has really fast cars and he leads laps and he's up front, but the misfortune um, doesn't allow him to win yet. That just is going to, in most cases, elevate a guy to the next level. And I think you look at this next stretch of races before the playoffs, and I think that Hocevar is going to be hungrier for a win than anybody outside of the road courses, like an AJ Allmendinger and SVG. I think Hocevar is that next guy that's like going to be ultra aggressive, especially the closer that we get to the playoffs. If he's not in that top 16 by the time that you get to like 5 or 6 races to go before the playoffs, watch out, because that's going to be a guy on a mission. And we've seen it before. He does not care who's in his way. He's going to make it known that that he's here to play, for better or for worse sometimes.
Yeah, I think the track lineup is the only thing that could stop him from winning, but I do think ultimately he'll be in the playoffs, whether that's pointing his way in or getting that first win. And that's not a guy these guys want to see in the playoffs. He is, that's basically house money once he gets into the playoffs. And with the speed they're showing, who knows? He could make a round of 8 charge. He could be that dark horse to make a round of 8.
Yeah.
With Hocevar, he could make the championship four. I feel like the way he's running right now, it wouldn't be a shock, honestly. Just if circumstances play better for some than others, and he's the one that plays better for than others, he's got a really good shot. I mean, the past 3 weeks, I mean, it's hard to deny it.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see and keep up with Carson Hocevar because I'm sure he'll stay in the headlines as the weeks keep on going. Another couple guys got to talk about. Ty Gibbs. Steve, he must have saw your TikTok.
He must have, yeah. He must have saw it and said, "Oh shit, man, I need to step it up here." Um, yeah, after the race, he was visibly very frustrated with a third place finish, which I could understand. Like he was on, yeah, Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi were talking about this on the teardown. Like he was on the same strategy as Denny Hamlin, but he just kept being told to hang back and save fuel, and ultimately they had enough fuel to make it to the end of the race, and they didn't run out. Like he had probably another lap or two left in the tank. And you look at the overall season, and a third place is what they needed, but they are so far back in points. They're sitting 24th in points, like over 50 points behind the playoff cutoff, and like third place isn't going to do it. So I don't know. To me, I look at it as, okay, like it's great that you put together a good top 5 race, but in the grand scheme of things, what does that do for you? Nothing. It would be one thing, like, had you gone out, taken the lead, and then coming to the white, you ran out of gas. At least you put up a fight and you died trying. But third place, they're not at a point where they can point their way in. They're in a must win. And so third place obviously is not a win. So I think that they just need to be a lot more aggressive, and this was their shot. Ty is not the best on road courses. His finishes on super speedways have not been the greatest. So that leaves that very small margin of just a couple tracks that he could have a shot at. Like this was their shot to win their way into the playoffs. And so I don't know why they weren't more aggressive, because you needed a win. Like third place was going to get you nowhere. You might as well have taken a shot at it. So I don't get it. I don't get what happened, but that's just part of the Monday morning quarterbacking.
Yeah, and then you got Chris Buescher. Wes, you mentioned him, thinking he had the fastest car. And I think where he lost the race was, I think he was passing, I forget who he was passing for fourth, I believe. Oh, it might have been Zane Smith. I think he was passing Zane Smith, and then he had a moment in two, off of two, and bobbled and lost like 3, 4 spots, including Denny Hamlin made the pass on him there. And Chris Buescher was also pretty upset after the race too, just at himself more than anything. Now, do you think Chris Buescher is looking like this is deja vu from last year? Like, I'm letting these wins kind of slip away, and if things kind of fall one way or the other, he could be left out again, like last year.
It does kind of look like that on the surface because Buscher's definitely proved since he stepped into, or I guess not stepped into, but well, yeah, with I guess the changes they made at RFK, just in the past 3 years, especially with the next gen. I wanted to look just to make sure, but he's a race winning capable driver. I feel like more weeks than not than he's ever been, but also he's a contender, right? Like he puts himself in good positions. He's consistent, right? He I feel like he does what Chase Elliott kind of does. He's a very clean driver, probably the cleanest driver in the field, and doesn't make hardly any mistakes. He did on Sunday. But he's more of a driver that can actually get the job done, go up there and lead laps. And I think for him, like you said, I think he had that expectation after winning Watkins Glen in the playoffs last year, when he wasn't in the playoffs, that he was going to come out and light the world on fire because he knew he let a few slip away then. This year, he's shown good speed at times, but he hasn't been up there leading laps. Michigan, this is probably one of his best tracks, one that he won at in 2022, or it might have been 23. I can't remember. But he wasn't able to get the job done because he made that mistake, let Denny Hamlin get around him. And there at the end, he was chasing him down, but there wasn't enough time left. So I think in his mind, he let another one slip away. He knows he's running short on time, but he can get the job done. He just needs to be there at the end or be up front and leading laps, making sure he doesn't make that like little mistake that he made then. You can't even call Kansas last year a mistake. It just was more circumstantial than not. But Buescher kind of in sweat mode, but he's got some good tracks coming up for him where he should be competitive. He'll be fair on the road courses. He's going to get a lot of playoff points as long as he plays the strategy right. Just need to make sure he's not. I mean, you want to race for the win, but you also we're getting to that point now where you got to be sure the guys behind you, you're finishing ahead of them. Don't just race for the win and then lose on a strategy call. Make sure you're beating the guys behind you.
And then you go to fourth place finisher, Bubba Wallace. Now that's big. Bubba the last 2 weeks has gotten the kind of the shit back on track and got sixth at Nashville and now fourth at Michigan. And it really wasn't up in the top 5 really all day until the end there. So just kind of good resilience for that 23 team, which is something they've kind of struggled with in Bubba's tenure there. So, Sam, I mean, that's got to be encouraging for the 23 team.
Oh, it's so encouraging. The biggest thing to me was the fact that on that last run, they were saving, waiting to get their number. He was in 12th, probably with I want to say 20 to go or something like that. Like when they were saving, once they hit their number, they told him to go and he put hammer down. He was making passes. He was making hay. Like I think he was because I was watching him on the ticker and my dad was listening to his in-car radio and once he put the hammer down and started pushing, it was like he was making it was like 5.5 seconds back or something. Um, when he first got the go ahead, like, hey, we're good on gas, and then he closed it down to I think 2.5 seconds, right? And I honestly believe that if Byron would have held off Denny long enough and he would have gotten that group bunched up and kept them bunched up for a little longer, we would have legitimately been talking about Bubba Wallace having a shot at winning this race. Just because that last run, he looked like he was the fastest car. Just cutting through the field. And it's really good to bounce back and have back-to-back really good runs after that stretch of DNFs that they had. And it's kind of shown, like you were saying, that resilience that they've been lacking as to try and compete as one of the top teams in NASCAR. And I think they've shown over these last 2 weeks, and and he's got a road course this weekend, which is not exactly Bubba's strong suit, but he's been working on those. And then going forward with the ovals, it just seems like they're setting themselves up pretty well right now. And just the raw speed that he had really, really impressed me um, on that last run to be able to close it out and work into the top five.
Absolutely. And it's just a few more attaboys from this week. Eric Jones again, P11. And don't look now, Steve. Eric Jones is only sitting 31 points out of the playoffs. So he's within striking distance. If they keep running where they're running, I think there's a legitimate argument to say that Eric Jones could really make a fight for this playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see how the point situation would be different had the DQ at Martinsville not happened and had, got crashed at Kansas. So had those two things not happened, um, Eric would be floating right around the cut line. It's been very impressive to see since the fifth place finish at Texas. It's been very impressive to see the progress, and it hasn't really been steady. It was just like they got the fifth place at Texas, and then they just took off from there. 13th at Charlotte, finished 7th at Nashville, and then 11th place at Michigan. Um, it's been very encouraging to see, and it has really dug his way from, just a few weeks ago, he was 29th in points and has dug his way all the way up to 21st in points sitting right now. So, um, road courses are going to be a little bit of the struggle for Legacy if they can get through with just like a top 15, top 20, just don't finish back in the Alex Bowman type range, then you can really make some hay. And I think they could put up a good fight coming towards the playoffs, have a good shot at Atlanta and Daytona. So I would watch out for him. Dark horse pick, Eric Jones.
I had it pulled up. I'll run it through real quick. Just looking at the playoff bubble, we've got 11 races to go until the playoffs start. Chris Buescher, he's 20 points above the cut in 14th. Alex Bowman's 13 above in 15th. And right now we've got a tie between 16th and 17th. Ryan Preece is in. I don't know if that's highest finisher or because he's got a playoff point. But Kyle Busch is out in the tie between the two in 17th. And then you've got Hocevar 18 back, as well as AJ Allmendinger. Stenhouse sits 20th, 20 points back. Jones, I think Dom, you said 31 points on the NASCAR app. It shows 36 points back.
My bad. Yeah.
No, it's
Bad
all
math.
good. 31
Yeah.
would be a little nicer on and then no, Zane Smith 22nd, Michael McDowell 23rd. Obviously, we've got super speedways coming up. So I said Ricky Stenhouse, Eric Jones. We've got a lot of road courses. I said AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell. Haven't even mentioned SVG, who's probably the most capable winner outside at a road course, and he's all the way back, let's see, 33rd in points. So there's a lot that can really shape up in the next few weeks that we're going to have to see. And, one of those winners, we get Michael McDowell win at a road course or SVG. You get Ricky Stenhouse win at Atlanta or Daytona. it's really going to shift that playoff line. You're going to see Chris Buescher maybe in trouble like he was last year. You might see Alex Bowman in trouble if he misses this week, or he sees the other couple different winners. So there's a lot that can play out.
Yeah, and just kind of going through again, Zane Smith, seventh place finish, probably his strongest performance of the season for the 38 car. And then, yeah, Kyle, like you said, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece tied for that final playoff spot. They're really just kind of tied at the hip. Kyle Busch eighth, Ryan Preece ninth, and then Brad Keselowski, top 10 for good old Brad at his home track. He was kind of quiet all day, but he kind of stayed out of trouble and was able to get a top 10 there at the end. I don't know if Brad's going to win a race before the playoffs, but I mean, just to show signs of improvement speed wise, it's got to be encouraging. That's actually the first time since 2016, they said, that RFK has gotten three cars in the top 10. So very strong outing for RFK.
July of 2016, you had Ricky Stenhouse, Trevor Bayne, Greg Biffle at Daytona all finished top 10. I thought that was pretty cool. I think Brad won that race. I might be wrong.
It's very possible Brad was very good at Daytona when it isn't the 500. So, let's see. I think that one more thing I want to mention before we get into our question. William Byron. Is there cause for concern for their lack of being able to finish a race here? Winning a race, I should say.
No.
I'm going to say no. Led 98 laps at Michigan. The history that we could look at for the 2014, the last couple of years, is like really after Memorial Day, really the stretch of like Memorial Day to Labor Day. The 2014 would just be non-existent during the summer months. They would go on a killer stretch in the beginning part. They would die off in the summer, and then they'd turn it on for the playoffs. And we're not seeing that yet. We're still in early summer here, but leading damn near half the race at Michigan, just kind of got, running second with 5 to go when Denny passed them. So I don't think that there's cause for concern. I think that statistically, I think this has just been the most complete season that we've seen from William Byron. And if he can run like he's been running through these summer months, I think legitimately we could look at him as a championship threat.
And I'm in the no camp as well. I know last year he won 3 of the first 8 races, and then he went on to be winless the last 28. But I think the likelihood of seeing a recap of that is really slim, just with how often he's able to put himself up front, how many laps he is leading, and how good he looks pretty much every single week. And right now he hasn't shown any signs, like Steve, you just mentioned, of that slow summer slump. That's a tongue twister. I had to say that slow. But we haven't seen that yet, and I just don't think that we're going to see that repeat of Byron. I think that he has definitely been getting better and better every season. He's more competitive every season, even though he's only got the one Daytona 500 this year, no other win. So I think he'll be in fine shape.
Yeah, my no is just a no. That's all you need to say about that. They covered it. He's good. He is a very good race car driver. He is in a very good race car. He is a championship threat. That is the facts of it. That's all I need to say.
All right. I mean, just looking at it, if Cole Custer doesn't wreck the top 6 cars at Daytona, William Byron's sitting here winless. So,
Winless, and he's still probably in like fourth in points. So,
well, I think he's still be leading the points technically, but I mean, just it's
he's
kind of how
41
crazy
up,
how
isn't he?
it's-
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah. He's
kind of crazy how
still
consistent they've been all season.
man. If this was a Winston Cup, he'd be running away with it right now.
Oh, absolutely. But it's not the Winston Cup standings, and I think this is a good transition to ask for and fuel this week. If you have any questions for us, just leave us, a comment on any of our posts throughout the week. Send us a message over on X, and we will be sure to answer your questions. This week, our question comes from the Nassholes podcast. Uh, they are asking who's your drivers that are a lock for the championship four based on this season so far. We'll reverse things here. Sam, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, we just talked about Byron, but like, I don't know. He doesn't have enough playoff points really for me to put him in the lock category. He's been very consistent. Yes, I'm proud of you for that. He is a great car. He'll be a championship threat. Um, but Kyle Larson's got to be there, sitting with 23 playoff points. He's got the most playoff points by five over Denny Hamlin. Right? I think because of the playoff format, it sets you up really well to have all those extra points on your side. Now, if William Byron goes off and rips off a couple of wins, bunch of stage wins, he gets his playoff points up. I think consistency wise, the 24 has looked the best. But if I'm going on one true lock, like whatever the odds are on, you know, like if I'm locking in a bet right now, I'm putting my money on Kyle Larson, championship four, just because he's got those 23 playoff points, and of course he's also been fast.
All right, we'll go to Wes.
Yeah, I was looking at the board real quick. Uh, I'm gonna go William Byron. I'm gonna go Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and I'm split between Larson and Blaney. I feel like one of those two. Um, I'm gonna go. I don't want to take the top four. I'll go Blaney. I think just because of what races are at the end, and I feel like also Blaney's had competitive speed just like Larson, but just has been caught up in more mishaps versus Larson's are more driver mistake. So circumstances play out. I think Larson's still making those mistakes, and Blaney isn't. So I'll take Blaney. Yeah. So Byron, Hamlin, Bell, Blaney.
I'm gonna go two guys from the Hendrick camp. Gonna go with Larson and Byron. I'm gonna go Denny Hamlin for out of the Gibbs, and then I'm teetering between Bell and Blaney, but I think if Blaney can get to the round of eight, I think those tracks better suit him. So I'm gonna give the fourth spot to Ryan Blaney. So I'll go Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Blaney.
Also, to finish out my top four, I talked about my one lock that I'll definitely lock in. The other three that I would say I'm guessing would be the top four is also Steve's. I'd go Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Blaney. It just makes the most sense.
Yeah, this question's tough because lock for the championship four. You could say based off the performance right now, but the system doesn't reward who's dominating the season right now. So it's easy to say Byron, it's easy to say Larson, Hamlin. It's just kind of looking at the schedule, and it's weird because Christopher Bell is kind of tapered off. I don't think he's gonna get those 9 wins I predicted at the beginning of the year, which looks so good after 4 races. But I think Byron's got to be there with just how if he could just get some wins. Because right now, I'd almost shoe him in for those 15 playoff points for winning the regular season championship. The five team is just they're in the wall one week, winning the next. Byron will just be top five in you to death. So I'll give him those 15. So I guess I'd go Byron for the championship four. I think Ryan Blaney you got to throw in there. He's got so much speed. I think he had a pretty solid car at Michigan before he kind of got out of the groove, got in the wall, and kind of ruined his own day. You got to look at Christopher Bell. If he can get to that round of eight, I mean, Vegas, he's been really strong, especially in that fall race. It's hard to say Larson. I know he's got a lot of playoff points, but he had a lot of playoff points last year and didn't make the championship four. And that was without Talladega in the round of eight.
Gavin
Now,
Harvick did in 2020.
yeah, I mean, Harvick had 20 million points and didn't even make the championship four. So I'm going to say Larson doesn't make the championship four. So I've got Bell, Blaney, Byron, and then you got to look. Got to be some surprise. You got to think.
Cole
And
Custer.
well, we're not. Well,
You
we're gonna
said
be
surprise, not hell freezing over, Steve.
yeah. The podcast will be over if Cole Custer's in the championship four. I mean, Josh Berry wouldn't be a bad pick. I think he's a dark horse no one's really talking about. But if I had to throw someone in there, I say Ross Chastain. I mean, if they could get the speed into that car, oh, forget it. He'll start winning. He'll start reeling off wins. He's taking 20th place cars, finishing sixth. I think he finished sixth this week, and he wasn't really up front all day. So Ross has been honestly like the best driver when it comes to carrying the car this season. And honestly, with the tenacity of him and that team, I could see him making a surprise run to the championship four.
Now, if we're going dark horse, I just want it to be known my dark horse pick for the championship four is Bubba Wallace. Like if we're going someone that you do not expect to be in the championship four being in the champ, that's 100%. Like if you want to put money on plus 2,000, 3,000, whatever it is, whatever the odds are right now for Bubba Wallace to make the championship four, I'm going to safely, securely put $5 on Bubba Wallace to make 1,000. Because I think that team has the speed to do it, and I think they have the driver to do it. They just need to put it together. And I think he can rattle off some wins and raise some hell. And that's a dark horse.
I had three dark horses in mind. One was Bubba Wallace. The other two being who I mentioned earlier, Carson Hocevar, and Dom, you said it, Josh Berry.
I think if I were to go like a long shot dark horse, if he can get to the round of 8 and Talladega's there, I would say Austin Cindric. Don't put it past him that, Penske car has had flashes of speed, has had flashes of just completely miserable races. But if he can survive the first 6 races and get through to the round of 8, I think Austin Cindric could be a dark horse to get to the championship four. And you know how it is when Penske gets to Phoenix. Look out for him.
Ain't no way Austin Cindric's winning this championship.
I don't know if Penske's going to let Cindric be that fast when they get to the Final Four.
Yeah, so the one thing I will say about Ryan Blaney, the one thing that concerns me with him is the round of 12. The tracks they don't line up for him. New Hampshire, never really shown too much speed there. It's been kind of like there in Richmond have been like his two worst tracks when it comes to, just speed and results. Kansas, yeah, he'd probably be fast there in the fall. And then the Charlotte Roval. So I mean, he has a win there, but that was back in 2018, and he needed washed up Jimmy Johnson to take out poor Truex to have that one happen. So that's the only thing. If Blaney gets to the round of 8, I'm confident he'll be in the championship four, just like he has been the last 2 years. All right, let's go into Ford Fuel, our race picks for Mexico City. I had Steve tied up until turn 4 coming to the white flag at Michigan, and Steve somehow managed to win, even though it looked like it was a battle between Wes and I with Hocevar and Byron, and Steve just backs his way into another win.
Mr. Busher saved the day.
Mr. Busher.
And Wes, and by virtue of Hocevar having a flat tire, you get to pick first. Who's it gonna be?
That was a real stinger. I wish it was just he would have lost naturally instead of a tire. But it's NASCAR anyway. I looked up. I just wanted to say there's 2, 4, 6 drivers who have raced here in Mexico City before: Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez. Those 6 have all raced at the track before. Obviously not in the next gen. Just to give you all a little bit of a maybe lead towards something, because I'm not going to let anybody take Shane Van Gisbergen. New track. I think he'll be competitive. I don't know if he'll honestly win. I mean, it's really going to be hard to determine who's going to be fast here because he's never been there, and neither has like 75, 80% of the field, just the 6 guys I mentioned. I just think that when it comes to obviously figuring out the new car on the new track, SVG's the guy. So let's see him get from 33rd to the playoffs.
All right, SVG for Wes. Now, let's see here. You go to a road course. we've run a road course once this season, and there was a guy that seemed to take advantage of that and showed how to race at the end of a race cleanly, make a pass for the win. That's Christopher Bell. I think C Bell needs to get back on track and get back to his winning ways. I think he'll be a little upset that Denny Hamlin's reeled off 3 wins since his last win, so he wants to get that 20 banner back up in Joe Gibbs Racing's shop. So give me Christopher Bell to get win number 4 this season in Mexico City.
You also need your 8th win because you need or 8 wins because you want to. You say Christopher Bell would win 8 times a season. He's at 3.
I said 9. I said 9. So
Shoot, 9. We need. There's number
He's
4.
got to rattle a
Hurry
couple
up.
off here for Dom.
I said
for his
Blaney was
predictions.
gonna. I said Blaney was gonna win 5 or 6. Larson 5 or 6. I think Larson will get there, but Blaney
Yeah.
and Bell right now, I don't know.
Keep in mind too, he also said that Hamlin was going to win 0.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, can you blame me?
Well, that's where you split off those wins that were supposed to be Christopher Bell's. They were actually Denny Hamlin's. You were in the right frame of mind, just the wrong car.
Yeah, well, now I think does that go to who we got, Steve? Is
It
that
should be me
That's Sam.
next
all right?
because
Yeah.
somehow Anthony used his black magic that got him 2 wins in a row to get the 6 car top 10. By God, didn't expect that. So you two took my 1 and 2 off the board, SVG and
We love
Bell, because looking at this track, just looking at pictures of it, layout of it, I haven't really looked too in depth at it, but it reminds me a lot of Coda. Maybe that's just the hey, F1 races here and at Coda. I don't know, something like that. Um, but so I'm gonna go with a guy that was also fast at Coda this year. He tapered off at the end, didn't really get the result he wanted. I'm gonna go with Kyle Busch to get into the win column first time in however many races since he's pulled one off. He looked fast at Coda. Um, I'd look to him because, like Wes said, he's one of those that has raced at this track before. That's one of those names you said, right?
it. Yep.
Because it was the nationwide race
He's
back
got a
in
win
what,
there.
05 to 08. Yeah, he's got a win there too. So I'm looking for Kyle Busch. That team seems like I mean they're not as terrible as they have been, and they were leading laps at Coda when it came down to it at the end. Just ran out of tires. So give me Kyle Busch this week to snap my losing streak, please.
All right, now Steve, I think Anthony sent his pick to you.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. So SVG was his top pick, naturally, but the second pick that he had down from that was AJ Allmendinger, guy that always runs good on the road courses, is always a threat to win every road course. So Anthony's going with the colleague guys this week and going with AJ Allmendinger.
Yeah, I mean that's a good pick. And if anyone's wondering where Anthony is, we're getting him back on the podcast in Pocono. We're gonna be doing a live podcast at Pocono. Wes and I will be there with Anthony. We'll be doing some more content there. So don't worry, Anthony will be back on the podcast here soon.
Yep, Sam and I will just be sitting on the couch
Twiddling our
watching.
thumbs,
Yep,
we live too far away.
yep, that's right. Well, there's a couple options left open for me. I'm gonna go dark
Denny
horse
Hamlin.
pick. No,
Riley Herbst.
nah,
That's too
already
dark horse.
already used him. Riley Herbst did not give me a win at Talladega. I'm gonna go with a dark horse. I don't think this guy is gonna win, but he somehow, some way, seems to always kind of get around a 10th-ish place finish at these road courses. Not somebody you think about all the time, but he just kind of survives, and that's the 3 car of Austin Dillon. It's
Whoa!
just kind of we have nothing to go off of for Mexico, and so why not just kind of throw a dart at the wall and see if it sticks? So I'll go the 3 car of Austin Dillon, and maybe he can make some magic happen.
Didn't he just come off of a streak of like however many races, not even
Yep.
finishing in the top 30 at a road course?
Yeah, but he also came off a string. He put together a few races where he finished in the top 10.
Hey,
Granted those weren't road courses, but
That's
You never
definitely
know.
a dark horse. You were correct about that.
I mean, listen, if
But
Austin,
listen, a couple years ago on this podcast, I got crucified by Dom for picking Denny Hamlin at Watkins Glen, and he got second place. So miracles do happen.
and
I don't know.
I still don't think he won that week. I think someone picked William Byron.
I think you're probably right about that.
If Austin Dillon wins you these picks, we're done. We're done. We're done doing
We're
race picks
done.
anymore.
Just give you the trophy, give you
Yeah, the
That's
trophy's
crown, give you the milk.
it's over. If Austin Dillon's the guy at a road course to put you 2 wins or 3 wins over everybody else, that's it. We're done.
Yeah. Like I said, I do not think whatsoever that Austin is going to win the race, but I think if things go right, he has to outrun Ben Gisbergen, Bell, Bush, and AJ Allmendinger. That is a tall task.
Yeah, I want to know what the odds are on that one.
Yeah. If I put down $5 on that, and that hits, I'm retiring.
Shoot, you might as well. Hey, at this point, there ain't no reason not to put 5 down.
Well, but hey, crazier things have happened.
I mean, I think I know what you're doing here. You're trying to tank the pick here so you can get Denny Hamlin for Pocono. I'm just looking at the names you got left.
That is definitely
That's definitely the plan. That's definitely the plan.
Game.
See, he ain't even denying it. He's
Don't
laying
make the
up this
player
week.
hate the- No, this is if it was a layup, I would pick Catherine Legg. All right.
Ooh.
If that was
Hey,
a layup.
shout
You
out
don't
Catherine.
know. Road course superstar Catherine Legg.
Yeah, I mean, Catherine Legg just catching strays for no reason now.
Okay, well,
I didn't say it.
I already used my Daniel Suarez pick, so I had to go with somebody else.
You want to change it? You can change it to Catherine.
No. Yeah,
She might outrun Austin.
Listen, this is going to be a great success or a complete flop. We'll know. And if it's a complete flop, you can clown me next week for it.
Oh, we will.
Is Denny Hamlin the Pocono pick if you finish dead last this week?
You can acknowledge. I mean, it might as well.
I mean, hey, if I might be picking second next week, who knows? So we'll see. You have to leave the people guessing for what's going to happen next week. I can't let any of my inside secrets out here.
I think they all know already. I think it's over. I think we all know.
Well,
Is Zillage racing this weekend? I just thought about that. Is this one of his races?
I believe that's negative.
No, Atlanta and Watkins Glen are on his schedule.
Because that would have been one, but Catherine might as well have been Catherine Legg. Oh, Jesus. That's hey, you never know.
I was just about to say Steve could have just, not pick a Denny Hamlin yet. He could have just picked Denny Hamlin whenever he wanted to next week. But looking at it now, Wes is the only one that's picked Denny Hamlin at all this year.
Yeah.
So this is
Hey, he got me a win.
This is a dogfight to get Denny Hamlin at Pocono.
We're gonna dogfight all for him to finish like 30th.
I sure hope not.
He's gonna find a way to blow a tire or something.
Yeah.
I sure hope not. All right. Well, anything else before we check out here?
No, it was, like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, another great broadcast from Prime. Every time that I watch Prime, I just wish that they could broadcast more races during the season, and hopefully they will in the future. I guess the only other thing notable from Michigan on the truck side of things, the return of Ram next year. So that will be exciting. Thank you, Michael Waltrip, for leaking that. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see, as the season goes on and more news comes out about that. I'm curious to see what teams are going to make the switch over to Ram. But it's nice to see another manufacturer come back into the sport. And so I'll be excited to see what they can do moving forward next year.
Also, speaking of trucks, congratulations, Stuart Friesen. It's been a really long time since he won. I don't know exactly when, but it's been a long time, and he raced the hell out of that truck to win that race. That was a fun finish right there. So Congrats to the 52 guys.
Yeah, I think last win was Texas 2022.
Been a while.
Been a long time.
Good
And
truck.
yeah, absolutely. And before we check out here, don't forget the Foreign Field Podcast is everywhere now. So you gotta follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X if you aren't. X is our biggest platform. So if you're not following there, you're behind. But catch on up. Follow us everywhere. We have a link tree, so it's just linktree.com/Foreign Field Podcast. You'll get all the links to all our social media. Our TikTok, we've been pushing out content every day. You've got Wes every week after the races, breaking down your top 10 finishers and what it means for all of those guys. And even Wes, I saw you did a little breakdown of the Bowman incident.
Yeah, I don't think I could recreate that again if I tried. I don't know how I was able to put that together, but something like that was just a fun first thing to make that was a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging. Obviously, we'll get better with TikTok, kind of the more content we try to push out, but definitely check out that video, but not just that, everything. Dom, you're doing a daily series right now where you're trying to put the drivers' numbers in order, and I'll tell you today.
Day four
I don't know.
Today was
Today's
rough.
Oh
day
my
four.
God.
Rough day four. Y'all can watch it, but day four is a short one.
And then I think Steve in the pipeline here. I know you've been teasing it in our chat, but are we looking at Tuesdays being a special day?
Yeah, and going back and forth whether it's going to be Tuesdays or it's going to be Thursdays, but exciting things coming on that part. You know, as you guys know, I'm a big foodie. Love cooking food, making food. What better way to celebrate NASCAR than with a tailgate? So could expect some food videos coming soon. That'll be a lot of fun. So you know, and those will be pushed out on the platforms as well. So exciting things to come for sure down the pipeline for us.
Yeah, we've got some Throwback Thursdays on Instagram. And so, yeah, you can find us literally everywhere now. We're going to be pushing content out every day for you guys, and we're having a lot of fun. And this is the biggest, the most involved we've been in this podcast after the few years of kind of just being wishy-washy. Now we're head deep in here now. We're just the train's moving, and either jump on or you might fall behind.
Hey, we're back on YouTube too. That's
That
important.
yeah, I completely forgot
I've
about that.
finally got enough schedule to actually be able to edit our videos again. So back on YouTube. Glad to be back.
And then we're gonna get Anthony. He's gonna start posting some content for us too. So yeah, just keep following us and listening to the podcast every week. So thank you all for listening. For Sam, Wes, Steve, I'm Dom. We'll see you next week on the Foreign Field Podcast.